Okay, welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Sick Folks of Cinema. Put your hands together. We're doing episode 3 today. We got, let's start off. My name is Heather Rogue, and we're comedians who talk about horror, and I am one such person as well. The type of horror I like is good horror. But I also, character development, I also enjoy a good bad horror. Mm-hmm. So if I could go either way as long as I am enjoying myself. Stephen!
Stephen? Yes.
Stephen.
Stephen Bauman, right? Nailed it.
Mom's home. Can you tell? Mother! Yes, I am Stefan. I like the horror too. Yes. All types of horror. Yes. How about you, Keith? What kind of horror do you like?
I'm a very specific horror junkie. No, I like the intellectual shit. And my weird, I like the sci-fi horror and the psychological horror. I get all philosophical about it. Sometimes a little too much. I don't know. I'm the weirdo. Guys, Christina,
you're the weirdo.
Christina,
okay,
what kind
Christina.
of horror do you like?
I don't know. I like the campy horror. Like, I'm a camp queen. Like, give me Bruce Campbell, give me Ginger Dead Man, give me Teeth. Like, if it's gonna make me laugh while I get scared, it kind of eases the blow a little bit. Plus, I like the nostalgic kind of cheesy B movie. Like, the worse it is, the more I'm probably gonna like it. Like, I don't like realistic shit.
So, like Sam Raimi meets Stranger Things?
Yes,
okay.
that's my aesthetic right there.
Do a little bit of that. Oh, guys, by the way, I need to point out something that I feel like we've glossed over that's very important.
Oh, no.
It is Friday the fucking 13th.
You're right!
It's Friday
I was
the 13th.
Thinking about that. Why are we not reviewing Friday the 13th besides that they're all terrible movies?
Because they're trash, yeah.
Because we're idiots? I don't know.
I like at least 2 of them, damn it. I don't love them, but I like them.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Friday the
13th?
No, they didn't.
I still have to open up. It's funny that you say that. I still have to open up my box set.
Original Friday the 13th because of the ending, which I won't spoil, but
Jason comes out of a lake and grabs the last surviving girl. Okay.
I will. Yeah, nobody fucking survives. When did we lose our way with horror? And we're like, oh, what about the happy ending? Oh,
you gotta blame Hollywood and the studios for that one.
Yeah.
But that one
final girl.
That one was interesting because they really just tacked that ending on. They were like, I don't know, we kind of need something. This looks, cheesy and shit. Like Keith would hate this movie. They realized, so they're like, let's just have a monster come out of the water.
I don't think we do enough of there's an Aquaman element to the monster. Like he can go underwater. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. That they thought they were safe.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Everybody feels strangely secure in the middle of nowhere, like woods areas. In horror movies, like everybody feels like just okay being out in the middle of nowhere. That's the problem.
Let's go explore that noise.
There's fog in the graveyard, and I know exactly how to get out. I know exactly. We go this way.
And they're also waiting for daytime, and then they're like, they forget that they still it happens on a 24-hour cycle. Nighttime's coming again, guys. You got to finish this thing, or else it's never gonna end. I don't know.
That's right. Why. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna move into the new segment unless you had something super important.
No, I was super. I don't have herpes. I don't. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Keith, let's start with you. What have you been watching lately as far as horror goes?
I watched a few. Here's the thing. Okay, I just talked a big game about all the intellectual stuff, and then when I'm drunk and I'm in bed and I'm not gonna sleep and I know that, I watch absolute trash. For some reason, I like cruising Amazon and watching all those 80s really pulp shitty be sci-fi and horror type of things. And
Yep.
for whatever reason, I got lured into Phantasm.
Bitch.
Did not age well. Let me just
No,
say
it did
that.
not.
And,
Oh, I love the original.
and it's for some reason it's always like it's like horror and then boobies. You know what I mean? Like all those 80s ones were like, we need some boobies. It was 79, but still I think it just slid under there.
You know what I like about those 80s horror movies, though, is that they'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm in high school, but I look 40. And
Yeah.
that, to me, is relieving, because if you're going to show your tits off, at least look like a 40-year-old and don't make me uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Oh,
High school guy had like a bald head and a ponytail.
Oh yeah, no, I met him. He was a nice guy. I met him at a Fangoria con. He was nice.
I wanted to write them a letter and say, stop going to the house. Like you're the monster in this horror scenario is not sneaking in your house. You're going to his house. What the fuck are you doing?
You're bothering the monster here.
Yeah,
But
like,
the later movies in the franchise, like he expands. He turns into McDonald's of like stealing people and shrinking them. You know.
Yeah, I like the first three. After that, they lose me. But yeah, the first one's a classic, man. That director Don Coricelli, he also did the classic Beastmaster. I love Beastmaster.
I thought it was
Yes.
a great job in world building. Though that whole franchise, really good world building. Terrible story. Every single time. The story is awful. There's no continuity, and all the continuity is just like, it makes you just like, what the hell happened between these two movies? They tried so hard to be like, this is a continuation, but also we just like removed all of these characters. They didn't get hired again, and everything's different.
The other one that he did that I really liked, and I think Christina actually probably has maybe seen it, and I'll say the name of it here in a minute. But it's also from Don Coricelli, who did Phantasm and the Beastmaster, called Bubba Hotep, and it stars Bruce Campbell, and I
That's
think
one of my favorites.
yeah, Ozzie Davis, and that's where he's Elvis in a retirement home, and a mummy comes to the retirement home to suck the souls of the living from their ass.
It's mwah. If
Yeah.
you like the
It's awesome.
dumbass Bruce Campbell shit, this is the movie for you. I don't have a lot of horror DVDs, okay? I just don't. But I have the limited edition
Oh,
Bubba
yeah, same.
Hotep DVD with the white leather jacket, the little Elvis jacket. I have it. It's one of my favorites. See, that's the type of shit.
I think you might like it, Keith. I don't think you'll love it, but I think you might like it because there's some shit in there that's
Bubba Hotep.
yeah,
Just
Bubba.
everything you said about intellectual, just throw it all out the window.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
garbage.
Everything you said you
It's-
liked.
I like me some Bruce Campbell. I will say that.
Oh no, dude.
Suspend your disbelief and just lower your IQ, and you're gonna have a good time. Okay.
You couldn't tell from the premise that you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Well, you know, it's one of those where it has its fair amount of cheese, but the actors, especially Ozzie Davis, he was a really well-known actor who took what essentially was crazy as shit and added some kind of theater, like actual acting
Yeah.
to the
For
movie.
what he did with the role that he was presented, you were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Jesus, round of applause for you, man.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there that's for again, that's another director who can take a lot of no budget and do something special.
Okay, Stephen, let's move on. What have you been watching this week?
What have I
as
been
far as horror
watching?
goes?
Well, I did watch Loved Ones pretty much twice.
Not
and
there
then,
yet. That's the segue.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Ooh, pardon me. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he watched it.
I'm gonna punish you.
Mommy! No, but movie-wise, I'll throw some stuff on. Nothing really specific, and if it doesn't get me in the 10 to 15 minutes, then I just dip onto something else. But just catching up on all my horror TV shows, really, man. That's pretty much when I'm diving between the movies and stuff. I'm trying to remember. There was one that I was watching over again. Fuck, what was it? I hit so many damn movies.
Let's come back to you. I will go next. I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna talk about. I watched I Saw the Devil. It's a Korean. I want to call it an anti-revenge movie, or like it subverts the revenge fantasy in a lot of ways. It takes everything you think is like, oh, satisfying about revenge, and it makes it not satisfying. It's like really well done. I don't know if I'd recommend it. It depends. As long as you know what you're getting into, like, then it's great. There's a serial killer and someone's after him. That's all you really got to know. And then it's a wild ride from there. I thought it was a good movie, but yeah, it was more of a thriller than a horror to me. Anyways,
I love that one. That's one of my favorites.
It's on my list.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
Ooh.
Tech Services, Christina.
I forgot that we were on Zoom, and I looked at my thing, and I was like, well, shit. I guess some tech
all our
services.
names are different. Yeah.
I haven't really watched a ton this week. I was in a conspiracy mood, so I watched a lot of Gravity Falls, and I watched a documentary on Skinwalker Ranch, which was on Hulu. I forget the exact name of it, but it's one of the better conspiracy theory type documentaries. And I watched The Loved Ones, our movie for the week.
Bum, bum, bum.
Pew,
Okay.
pew, pew, pew.
I watched that.
Oh, so this movie was odd. What did you think of it, Keith?
Okay, so should
Take
we
a
start
deep
with-
breath.
Should we start with the good? No. Well, overall, you guys know that it's not my jam. Like, torture porn is basically not what I go for necessarily. I'm not really
It was
in
like
it for that.
torture soft porn, though. It wasn't even that bad. Like, it wasn't even that bad.
But it was flawed to a point that it kind of just it flipped the paradigm of what you. I don't know. It's like it's almost like a cautionary tale. Like, careful what you wish for. Like, I'm always criticizing horror movies for the tropes and the cliches and things like that. And then this is like, well, what if those weren't there? And it's like, well, now I hate it. So it's like, because what I felt like, what normally happens is that the characters that are getting killed off are in some way unlikable or stupid or make mistakes. And then you're a little bit rooting for the monster or the evil in a way. Like, we all love Freddy Krueger. No one fucking remembers the names of the people that he killed. You know, we want that to happen a little bit. You know, this one did not do that. Like, I was immediately like, my sense of justice was triggered, and I'm like, fuck these guys, like, kill them. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to call the cops. I wanted to like get a posse. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't build up any sort of, I don't know. And they also didn't develop any empathy for Lola either. Like, they didn't give us her backstory before we see why this is happening. I don't know if I'm getting too deep too fast, but this.
You are way too
Messed me
deep.
up.
I
I didn't
could
like
just the tip. Let's start with the tip.
That's why I liked it, though.
Yeah.
That's also why they had her book, because it left some vagueness, and then the book kind of fills in a lot of the stuff, her little trophy book.
Well, it fills in the fact that she's a serial killer and that this is not her first victim. Yeah. And it fills in the fact that all these people are missing, and it's like, basically this is just one more victim in a long line of victims. And then you get a reveal later, spoiler, that they're not even killing them. They're just pouring boiling hot water into their skulls and leaving them and hiding them in like a kind of basement style thing, like a dungeon, basically.
Yeah.
And turning them into like undead ghouls in a weird way.
I was shook a little bit with that, because when they first, like, spoiler alert, when they first opened the doors, I was like, I looked at Eddie and I was like, what the fuck is down there? Like, they just poured water. They're throwing a dead, I'm assuming, wombat. I'm not 100% sure what the roadkill was. I think it was a wombat. But they just like threw it in there, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then you see that it's like the boys, like the men, and it's like, oh, well, fuck, Jesus, okay. All right, I thought this was just a hobby, but apparently this is just what they do. I don't know. I liked it. Call me crazy. I liked it because this is the way that the point where I knew I liked the movie was, okay, spoiler alert, the first time that the main character gets away and he climbs up the tree. Okay, if this shit were to happen in real life, these hillbilly ass serial killers are not going to be like mastermind, torturers. They literally just picked up rocks and started chucking him to get the kid down, and they got lucky. So they got to keep torturing him. Like, I liked that realistic, like, these are just fucking crazy ass people. Like, Lola doesn't need a backstory. Like, she's just fucking weird, and let her be weird and insane.
That was in my start with the good stuff list. Is the character work on the family is brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I think that's my favorite part of it too, was just how demented that they really sold. These are a couple demented motherfuckers, you know what I mean? And like they kept going down that line too, and it was like you're just like sitting there. I was more shocked by like, what are they gonna do next versus like what's gonna happen to him next. It's like, are they gonna start making out on the table and do like an incest softcore? Like, what's going on next? You
Exactly.
know?
That was actually that was a sophisticated type of like incest sicko family dynamic that you'd see on like HBO or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, and they don't just go into it. It's like the romance builds up between them a little bit, you know?
Yeah. There's that scene where you first see like Lola in her room and you hear that damn song and you're like, I remember what that feels like. Like, I was that girl who was like, why am I not pretty enough? And then she's like, Dad, you got to see how it looks. And then just starts stripping in front of her dad like nothing. And you're like, oh, okay, this bitch is crazy. All those things I just felt, all that sympathy and empathy. No.
Oh no, yeah,
take that back.
That song got ruined. That song is ruined for life for me now. Like, I will never be able to hear that fucking song. Am I not pretty enough? Without fucking cringing. And
I gotta be honest with you. I can't get dressed and dance to it in my bedroom anymore either. Like, it's weird now.
It's
like,
terrible.
Now it's weird, you know.
I mean, it's true. Beforehand, it wasn't exactly the greatest. But it was like at least neutral. And now it's on the dark side of just like that triggers things for me now.
Yeah.
Triggers.
Here's the thing, though, Stefan. To your point about the book,
Yes.
I felt like the book didn't really do anything to me. It gave a little bit of exposition about what's happening, but it didn't really build out Lola's character. Lola's character. They were great. They were brilliant character work and making a fucked up family, but it was one dimensional in terms of like what it does to the storytelling and the audience. It was a little bit like Rob Zombie. It's like Australia wanted to make a Rob Zombie film. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit of just like, it's a sick fuck family. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Yeah, and you kind of get the sense, like, when Bright Eyes is first introduced, you're like, oh, okay, like, she was just, this is normal to her. This has always been, like, going on in the house, and she's a little jealous. Like, you could just, that's where I got the sense of, like, oh, she's always been this way. There wasn't a traumatizing event. There wasn't a heartbreak. This is just how she is. I'm sure if she actually liked the boy, she'd do the same fucking thing.
So what I got from Bright Eyes, basically, especially when I first saw the movie, was it came to me, you know, it's kind of like the whole thing, like nobody's born with hate type of thing, right? So it, you know, the couple things come to me. One, is that really his daughter, or did he raise someone else's daughter? That's number one. Number two, because she wasn't born that way, was the father already doing this to many women, being that maybe she didn't have a mother, unless we're assuming that it really is her mother. I don't honestly think it is. I think she learned the behavior from him, and he'd been taking women probably for many, many, many years and doing the same thing, and then hence her behavior and doing this to
I think that makes sense, considering he's having to show her a lot of techniques and she's like practicing all of the techniques that he's already good at, you know. It's like, yeah, maybe he just loved his daughter so much he decided to keep all her crushes as slaves from the start, but it probably was like he'd already been doing it, and Bright Eyes was one of his victims.
But that reduces the tension of the incest aspect. It just makes it like a Woody Allen sitch, and like I
Which
don't know,
is
I like it the other way. You know what I mean? Like where it really is.
Well, I mean, it could be, it very well could be. I'm just thinking, obviously, she wasn't born that way, so these are learned behaviors. So, how much has she been exposed to in order to become that way? With if that in fact really is her father or it isn't, what has she witnessed growing up to have her think that that behavior is acceptable? And
And I was
obviously, he's
getting too deep too fast.
yeah.
I didn't really think about it that much in terms of like where the family history came. We'll wait for the prequel.
The
The prequel. God, if they did that.
It'd be
You know
called
what
Just Dad.
can I talk about my least favorite thing about this movie?
Mhm.
Mhm.
The B story was terrible and pointless. Like
Really was
yeah,
pointless.
yeah.
any scene that happened outside of that house was like just, oh, here's a tension break for no fucking reason.
Oh, his
Like,
buddy trying to get laid.
Tie
Yeah.
back
his
to it.
his
Yeah.
buddy just having a regular prom date like
Mhm.
next to this, and they never like go, like with Get Out, the B story is like his friend, the security officer is like trying to track him down and
Mhm.
find him. And this one, it's like his friend is just at a date, and then they hook up, and then he takes her home. And like that
Yeah.
might have worked as a B story in like a sitcom, but when it's like
wait a
next
second. No.
to-
Yeah.
The tie-in was that that was one of her brothers was a previous victim.
Yeah, that's the one that
Tie-in.
had
Yeah,
him.
Not a great tie-in.
the
It
bar.
doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't tie it all up, but it's a it's a
Yeah.
shady nod.
It's like I guess it's a link, right? It's
Yeah.
like
It's just the link though. Like had they kind of noticed that he wasn't at the dance with his girlfriend and then his parents couldn't find him. Like I was really hoping that poor goth chick got something more than just a shitty night at a prom, a good lay, and then she went home and cried herself to sleep and her parents didn't do anything about it. Like that poor girl should have at least gotten a fucking shot at Lola before getting a
right. Like if
like
she
a
lost her
shitty
brother, then she should have been there in the climax when it was the main character's girlfriend who comes and like saves him. Like
I
it should
agree.
have been a team up at that point. At least it would have made it it would have felt like it wasn't just a tension break for the sake of it, like
Yeah.
that whole B story.
I'll be honest, I didn't like anything that was off of the main story. I didn't like the family of
It was
of the
terrible.
kid
It
was
was
kidnapped
just like
looking for him. It felt like I was watching like NCIS or something. Like why are we caring about like there's a helicopter next, like the search party? Like it doesn't
it's mostly just like long shots of his mom's face looking very concerned.
Yeah,
Like
it
that's
was-
90% of that part of it.
yeah.
Really did feel like the family was really not that jazzed about looking for him. They're just like, well, this kid's depressed. I mean, he killed my husband. He'll be fine. He'll come back in a day. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean,
Like,
we
if
talked about,
my-
sorry.
Yeah, like if the sheriff of like my town came and said, well, this is all that we found of your boyfriend, I'd be freaking the fuck out. I'd be on a man search, not just sitting there with his mom and being like, well, I guess let's just hope he comes back. Like he didn't say I love you back today, so I guess I'm not gonna go searching for him because he's missing.
Well, the thing was too is that like when they're getting ready to fuck around in the car before you realize that Lola's outside of the car watching him get a blowjob. Awkward. Spoiler alert. She realizes that she's feeling onto his body when she notices he has the necklace with the razor, that he's a cutter, right? And so, I think the assumption is that, that he has maybe previously done this before, possibly, or that, oh, this is just him acting out because he's stuck in a, state of depression, I don't think it was executed very well, but I believe that's what they're hinting to, that this is just normal because he's going through a great loss, so he's gonna there's things that are going to randomly happen because he doesn't know how to express himself, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they didn't make it so obvious that this kid was taken,
Mm.
then I would have been like, okay, like they just think he's just, he's fucked off. He's just like on a bender. But they
Dog got
left
stabbed.
all of his stuff. Yeah, like the dog didn't even get stabbed. The dog got fucking hit with a hammer. Like
And a
the dog
nail. A hammer
Yeah.
and a nail.
Yep.
He
Like
was
that
walking through-
happened, and then your stuff just comes up missing. That's alarming.
Yeah, but the
to
cop
most
was
people.
walking through a giant field at night and just happened upon like a couple of trinkets from the guy's pocket. Like, what? Really?
Yeah.
And all that family stuff felt non-essential. Like we were talking about Friday the 13th earlier. Imagine if like we cut away to like the kid's family who are at the camp or something. Like, I wonder what they're up to. You know what?
Exactly.
Why? We don't need that. Yeah.
Like, but not doing anything, not
Yeah,
like trying
exactly.
to track him down or trying to not being active in the story at all whatsoever. Just long shots of them looking concerned.
Yeah.
I have a continuity question. Okay, so these kids, were these just rando pickups for dates, or is it like every year at the prom or something like that?
I think these are just boys that she's had crushes on.
Yeah.
Who've like she went point blank and said, will you go out with me? And no matter how nicely they said no, she was like, unacceptable. You've got to come here.
Because there's a
Unacceptable,
6-month
Nene.
break. There's a 6-month break and not a year break between that accident where the one escapee and then the next abduction, which I assumed as like, oh, this is how she deals with the prom every year, or dances, But
She's like 37, just doing the prom for the last 10, 20 years.
I just assumed it was like how she handled like rejection.
Yeah, that's what I think it is too, yeah.
Like it's just like when boys don't like you, girls, we all get upset when you have a crush and they don't like you, and instead of handling it with a sad song and
You nail
sitting
their
in your room
feet to the
alone.
ground.
Well, rejection's a motherfucker. Nobody wants to hear no, or I don't feel the same way. You're like, what? Motherfucker.
by the way, she's a great actress. Is it Robin McLeavy? Is that the
I believe
Lola?
so.
She played Lola.
So.
She's one of my actresses in the what do you call it? Hell on Wheels. She was in that TV show. I don't know if you guys. It's a western.
I know what you're talking about from AMC.
Yeah.
The cowboy one.
I do have to say she did a really good job as far as acting goes. The acting was not distractingly bad at any point either. Like the script choices and whatnot was distractingly bad, but as far as them committing to their characters, it was fine,
Yeah.
This finger licking good?
I will say we kind of touched on it, but one of my favorite parts when I started to like get jazzed up was when her dad, spoiler alert, is hammering knives into this poor kid's foot, and she's like, aren't you gonna cry? Aren't you gonna cry? And then he just like nuts up and he's like, he won't give it to her, and she starts freaking out because he's like, nope, I'm not gonna shed a tear for you.
Well,
bitch.
she doesn't know his pain. She doesn't know his pain. He's in so much pain. Like whatever they're putting him through, it's nothing.
It's just an outlet for him at that point.
Yep, because he already cuts himself anyway. So what's this shit?
Dude, the thing is with the whole razor blade thing, like, okay, so I called that, I don't know how many minutes in. I called a lot of things. Watching a movie with my wife, she hates my guts because I'm calling all this stuff. I'm like, boom, he's doing that, boom, he's doing that, that's happening.
I have to restrain myself.
I called both of the stupid times that somebody got pushed from behind down the fucking pit. Spoiler alert. Sorry, everything's a spoiler alert. But
yeah, the cinematography set that shit up, so like you're expecting it, because you can't see behind them.
I'm like, okay, yeah. I literally say, like, I'm like the person in the movie theater that you hate. I'm like, don't lean over that hole. And then he goes over. What does he do? He's like, this is weird. I'm gonna lean over and see what's in there. And like, God damn it, why are you doing this to me? But I called it when he was beating Lola. I'm like, don't stop till it's done, dude. Don't get up. And then he got up, and then of course, but and then the cop, when he walked in, I was like, don't answer that banging. There's two entities in this building. There's the perp and the victim. Who do you think is in the fucking basement, dude? Banging on the wall. You find the perp and then rescue everybody. You got to eliminate the threat. Like, that's day one shit for a cop. I mean, I don't know. It just
Maybe he's a small
Did
town.
see? I was gonna say this is pretty small town, back roads. Like, I don't think they're used to serial killers and mass murders. So, I'm gonna. Plus, I mean, he got a butcher knife in the back of the head, which I don't know how she had the strength to do.
It's the same format with a domestic violence situation. You don't go in and be like, the guy's got a shotgun. You're like, you need a Band-Aid real quick? Oh shit, I should probably get the shotgun. No, you're right.
I'm with Keith on that one. I feel like it kind of takes me out of the movie when the characters make decisions that are just so horribly stupid that you can't get on their, like, you're just like, oh God, why are you doing, like, it doesn't make any sense that they would be that dumb, right? And it makes it harder to, like, feel scared for them, because it's like, well, you're kind of asking for it at this point, buddy.
I agree. There are some things, not just in this movie, but all movies in general, where you're like, okay, why is that character doing that, or why are they acting a certain way, or why are they doing something without as much why aren't they doing reconnaissance, seeking out more information as to what's going on before jumping in the fire, if you will. I definitely agree with that. But the thing that will not make an interesting movie for sure is having too many smart people. Then nobody gets killed.
Well, like Green Room. You've watched Green Room. You recommended it, right?
Oh yeah,
and that's full of stupid people, but they're, like, believably stupid because they're in a very chaotic, like, situation, and they're just like making decisions off the seat of their pants. It's not like they're a trained cop, like they're a punk band, right? So
that movie is so fucking good. Have you guys seen Green Room?
No.
Dude, one of Patrick Stewart's, without spoiling what he does or who he is, one of his best fucking movies, as well as the guy Anton Yeltsin, who died. He was in the remake of Fright Night. He was in the remake of Star Trek. I was so sad to hear that dude died from his own car. Horrible. What a horrible way to die. He got ran over by his own fucking car.
Yeah.
In his driveway.
It's a Prius too. Like, it's
That was a freak accident right there.
Yeah, really, really horrible. But he's one of those actors where, like, if you look at his resume, there's not really, I mean, you could say that, it's obviously a 50-50 for some on some of the flicks he did, but I'd say 98 or higher % of his movies, I liked them all. And that one, he's with an actress that he's done other movies with, and her name is just hard for me to pronounce. It's like Imogen Poots or something like that. Imogen Poots.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Imagine Poots.
Yeah, however the hell you say that, I don't fucking know. She Poots, okay? But you get I definitely recommend that one. Yeah, Green Room is fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah, but I was just, to my point, I was just saying, like that same director, he also made another movie called Blue Ruin, which I also recommend. It's a slower one than Green Room, and Hold the Dark. These are all really good movies starring dumb people who make bad decisions, but it manages in that case to amplify your empathy for them, because you're like, yeah, these are not professionals, right? We can't expect them to know what to do. But to contrast that with the loved ones, it's like trained cops who are just like, oh, let me walk through and, like, not look where I'm going and not secure this location at all.
He sees all the blood. He sees a crime scene that's alerting. It gave him enough alert to break into the property, which, it's like, this is it. There's a thing happening here. I'm going to go in. And I don't know. But the thing is, like, a lot can be excused with, like, stress, adrenaline, shock, like
panic. Because some people fold right under pressure.
But when it makes the viewer feel like it was just lazy writing, and they're just like, how do we get from here to there? Fuck it, this guy does that.
Right.
then it cheapens the film and it cheapens the experience as a viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the thing that I ask myself too when watching a lot of these is, is this the person's first movie, this director's first movie? Is this his fifth movie? Because I know, at least for me, if it's in their career, it's later in their career, they write something that leaves a lot more kind of questionable elements or too much vagueness in certain areas that don't need vagueness, if you will. Then I'll be a little bit more harsher on the film.
Mhm.
I'd have to look up as far as this gentleman's resume where this ranks as far as his movies, but I'd say as far as like an indie horror flick within the first two movies, I kind of give some of those guys a little bit of a break. I mean, not to make excuses for them or anything, but it's just later in their career where I would be a little bit more hardcore as far as
Well,
criticizing it or whatever. I don't know.
this was Sean Byrne's first like
First
movie.
movie. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd only done shorts before this, and this was the first movie that he wrote too.
So yeah, I give a little forgiveness. It has its flaws. I mean, it's
It
not.
feels like a first movie for sure. It
Mhm.
definitely feels like they just glued that shit together for the first time ever doing something like that.
Well, and
Big
not having
project.
not having a budget to hire other people who could maybe up your production if they've done other movies, because a lot of that, not even a lot of it, it's just facts. It's a filmmaking and things of that nature are a collaborative art. It's not just one person, unless you're
Right.
Spielberg, I guess, or
You
somebody of
know,
that nature.
I honestly have nothing against the production of this movie. I like indie movies. My issues with it are primarily the script,
Yeah. There were some zingers in the script. Like there was some good dialogue and there was some good points, but there are definitely big holes. Like I understand like some people, like even smart people, put them in a traumatic or like a high stress situation and they buckle. They have no idea what to do. They freak out and they make poor decisions. But this one was just like you guys were saying with the sheriff, like that was just too much. Like you see blood all over the floor. You know this is a crime scene. He should have
Call
called for
for.
backup.
I was just
You
gonna
know?
say that. Yeah.
Call for backup. Like you don't have to go in and I get that your son might be in there. You're really stressed out about this. There's a kid missing, but there's those instincts where it's like, come on. If he was drunk, maybe I would have bought it. But I
Right.
don't know.
The question to me is like, do their bad choices under stress, does it amplify the tension or does it deflate it? And with that sheriff, it was deflating the tension for me. Whereas with Green Room, when they make bad decisions, I'm just like, no, and it amplifies the tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like for instance, when it comes down to lazy writing, it's like there wasn't enough reason for the sheriff to go right for the basement, right? So write in a reason. Why does that happen? Something like in like what's the movie? Silence of the Lambs or something, where he's searching through something, the house, and he's hearing lots of noises or whatever, or he thinks he finds the whoever lives there, but they escape, and then he's like, what do I do next? Like give him a moment where he's confused and figures out what to do. You know what I mean? Like work it into the story and just, I don't know, sell it for me. That's all.
Yeah, I think I would have felt more comfortable had the sheriff made a little more progress and it was just one of those instances where it was like a split-second mistake cost him his life. Like just something just so stupid, just like a booby trap or something, like a triple wire and a fucking shotgun goes off. Like something
Like
so
Saw.
small.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
Just
became
something really
pointless,
small.
too, because did the story gain anything by the sheriff arriving? Like even when he got the gun, it didn't. I mean, I think the only bearing it had on the story was he had one more body to stack to get to the fucking top. Is that what he? You know what I mean? Like what did that do for the sheriff arriving there to add to the story or to progress the story?
I think it was more of him making a very poor decision under duress and adrenaline. He looks in the window and he starts to question, okay, there's a lot of blood on the floor. Maybe he's, clinging on to life right now. I don't, he doesn't really know.
I mean,
And
maybe the writers were throwing Lola a bone because she's not the criminal mastermind. She's really not. She's not the brightest tool in the box. She's not the most emotionally stable. So she makes the worst decisions throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Like she can't even lobotomize him right. Like she spills the water, she blew it. You know, like so maybe they were throwing her a bone just to get her like out of the house and onto the mission of like, I'm gonna kill your mom like you killed my daddy, and I'm gonna stab your girlfriend in the heart like you stabbed me in the heart.
Yeah. And,
you're like,
I will
oh,
say this, another thing that I'm not a big fan of is when it's some sort of like reset in this crisis situation. So it's like somebody's tied up, they manage to escape, they get out, and then they go get them, they catch them, they put them right back in the same exact position, and the same, you know, like we just reset the whole process,
Right.
and then he does the exact same
And
thing again. It's like that.
nothing changes, you know. Like if nothing's changing, then what are you watching it for? And then it ruins its rewatchability, you know. You
The
can't
razor
watch that
blade,
over and over again.
he reuses the same tool, the same, like, oh, he has that razor blade, they used it twice, you know, like.
yeah. When he was under the car, he tucked it in his back pocket. I guess the dad didn't frisk him or something. Is what it
Yeah.
seems like.
But you
Well,
remember,
I mean, the girl Lola did have to get him out of a tree via rock to the head. You know, that's the only shot that they had. She was like, "Let me try." I was like, "Girl, go ahead. This if he gets away, you guys are fucked."
the
But you know, and
recapture was fun. Don't get me wrong. Like I like that, and it added to the development of the characters of the Sicko family. But then the whole process of the victim being reset into that situation, you know, if maybe they reset him into a different scenario, maybe they're like, okay, this guy's a runner. I mean, I know they were able to nail his feet with steak knives.
Right.
It was still,
So there was a little bit.
but it was still too much of a little bit of the same thing. You know what I mean?
mm.
I don't. Do you guys?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the remake of Mad Max?
Oh, of course,
Yes.
Fury Road.
Fury Road, both directions. Like it was like Fury Road, and then he's like, "Let's go back. Why not? Fuck it. Like I could do that again." Like, it was so stupid. I was
Well,
like, "Fuck this movie."
well, I agree with that assessment because when I first saw it, that was one thing that did frustrate me. And then I watched it a second time, you know, to appreciate the. God, I love that director. That director is fucking amazing. But you know, homie had the water.
Sure.
Homie had the water. So I mean,
MacGuffin.
Right.
Yeah, MacGuffins are a
you know,
bitch. But it's
In
like,
that
it's the-
case,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. In that case, I actually like that it was because it played into the theme of the movie, and it played into what they were like the whole point of just like, you know, you have this oasis in your head and then it's not real, and then you realize the real oasis is back home if we go at it together, you know, like,
Yeah.
or whatever.
It's
Now that we've learned these lessons, we can go and recapture home. It's a heroic story. There's always a return journey, you know.
It felt like, though, it just felt to me like if the four of us went out to brunch for 2 hours and then we got done, we were standing outside the restaurant. We're like, I could eat. Let's. You guys want to go get something? You know what I mean? Like, no, not again. We just fucking finished that. What are you doing?
It'd be a great subversion though for a sitcom if you
Like
just
they
ended
never see it coming. Yeah.
like a loop, you know.
Yeah.
well, you know, that's like my one buddy, man. Like we got done eating, and then he's like, "Hey, dessert," and I was like, "Already?" He's like, "I gotta fill in the cracks, bro." I was like, "Oh, okay." But I mean, you know, I feel you. They bring him back in the house. You didn't like that very much. I can see where, you know, not just you, but other people maybe wouldn't have liked that aspect of it. I don't know. I mean, that's just one of those things, you know. I try to take into account. I try not to make excuses for movies. It's hard for me when I really like something. You know, definitely, I won't lie and you know say otherwise. But I think with
Yeah.
indie horror, I try to be a little more forgiving on certain things. A little more, you know, add a little more stretch to it, you know, as far as the tolerance of certain things. Um, and you know, granted, I've seen, you know, indie stuff that's really good. I've seen indie stuff that's really bad. And then even the stuff that, you know, I might find bad. You know, this is a prime example. There was an indie flick that me and my buddy went and saw called It Follows. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. I think
Mhm.
that you did. And that was one for me that had to grow on me because the first viewing, I liked parts of it. I didn't like the movie. It took me watching it 2 or 3 more times for me to go, okay. I looked at what they spent, and granted, this is not something obviously you're doing before you watch a movie you've never seen or never heard of. But after I watch something, I try. No, I don't do this with everything, but certain movies, this was one I did, where I look up what the budget was. Was this their first or second, third film? Is this something where they didn't come from film school? You know what I mean? Just trying to figure out different uh, things
You-
on where they've fit their headspace in making it.
Yeah, you're trying to
I don't know.
sympathize with the director and the whole process. Which
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I honestly do that when I really like a movie. If I really like a movie, I'll go in, and if the budget was really low, it's gonna make me like it more. Like I would never do that if I don't like a movie, I don't like a movie.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
because that's an
I'll give it
underdog kind of thing.
yeah, like I'll give it another shot. Like I'll watch a movie twice, and if I still don't like it, I'm not gonna bother the third
That's like
time.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
like the Void. That's another example of like an indie flick doing good and paying tribute to like an '80s nostalgia type thing. Also extremely low budget, and I have friends who hate that movie, and I have friends who love that movie. I liked it a lot. I
I
think
think that
Heather.
movie's great. I think that It Follows is great. And both of those movies are great because they know tension and they know how to maintain tension the whole time. And this one did not. So it's like, that's why I can't excuse the budget, because you don't need a budget in order to hold the tension, you
Yep.
know?
I gotta be honest with you. I don't have that kind of time. Like I can't I can't watch a movie 3 times. Be like, okay, it's good now. Like, sorry.
Well,
Right.
I don't mean it like that. What I'm saying is when I review it, I'm looking for other reasons to like it.
Yeah.
And it's usually over time, not right away.
So-
I watched it 3 times. I love it now.
For our viewers and our listeners out there, my picks are for like someone on a time budget, that doesn't have a lot of shit. So if I tell you like skip this one, that means it takes like 3 or 4 times.
So let's actually move into our ratings quickly. So Steven, what do you rate this movie?
Oh, I love it. I loved it. It has its flaws, but for all its flaws, I love it. I give it 5 out of 5 for me.
Really?
Nice.
Mhm.
And would you say it's for fucks or for folks? Hopefully for fucks, I would say.
I think it's a family film. I think you should gather the family around on the couch and just throw it on, see what happens.
Okay.
Rejection. What a motherfucker.
Okay. Keith, what do you think?
Okay, so knowing that this is the sick fucks of cinema, right? I can't kink shame anyone for liking torture porn, but I think it's definitely it's too sick fuck for me in terms of just like, I guess it's not too sick fuck for me, but it didn't offer anything else. It didn't offer a lot of substance beyond the sick fuckiness. So I would only give this one like 2.5 or 3 out of 5 because the acting was good. Other than that, everything else is like acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
Christina, what do you think?
I think as far as like the folks versus sick fucks, I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. This is a movie if the person wasn't huge into like super gore, like a super horror fan, but they just kind of wanted to see how the other side lives a little, this is a good one. Because like Keith said, it is torture porn, but it's like soft torture porn. Like you don't see a whole lot of the stuff actually happen. Like you see the aftermath, but it's not like that, physical reaction of like, ugh, like a needle going into an eyeball. That's too much. But it's, you know what I'm saying? And the overall movie, I liked it. I don't think it was the best, but I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5.
I think it was a decent bad movie. Like to me it was campy, and it made some choices that all you can do is make fun of it. Like all you can do is watch it with your friends. It's a good movie to watch with your friends when you want a B horror movie to watch and just be like, what the fuck are they doing? And like just criticize the choices of the characters as well as the filmmakers, because there's weird choices all around. And frankly, as a movie, I would give it 2 out of 5 stars because I didn't like it at all. Mostly because of the B story. Just like what the hell was it doing there? It really just like I don't know. There like choices like that and like other choices where it's like it just seems weird and off, and like the movie was edited together to make some kind of continuity, and they struggled with making that story like they struggle with the execution outside of the straight up torture porn scenes that happen, which are decent for torture porn. No tension, just campy torture, which makes it torture porn in the purest sense in my mind. So I would say it's 4 fucks, but it's only on, I would give it a 3 on that scale. It's not super intense. It's not gonna make you puke, you know, it's not gonna, but it's not like, it's got gore. It's gory as hell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There might be some awkward eye contact with somebody watching afterwards.
I don't know. I mean, and I said this last week, you know, when I was at a Fangoria convention and Bruce Campbell was speaking and me and my buddy Butcher were there. His name's Anthony, but he goes by Butcher. And we're sitting in the convention and he's asking people to yell out bad horror movies. And again, I love Bruce Campbell, but this is one of those moments where I understand where people are coming from, and I understand that we all label things a certain way to address certain things. For me, it's all horror movies. I don't really refer to it as torture porn. For me, it's all horror. I you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know, as far as the quality, I just call it horror. But he was one of the first I ever heard bring up the torture porn thing. And then me and my buddy were just kind of there, like looking at each other, like puzzled, because we watched a shit ton of horror movies, and I was just like, "What? What? What?" I get why that name came about. I get it. But for me, I just, it's just a big, you know, pot of stew. I just call it horror, for myself anyway. Because everybody's gonna die in a horror movie, whether it be slow or fast, you know.
True, but there's different styles. There's different ways to die. And some people prefer and get off on a certain way of doing it. So
No, I hear what you're saying. Because
yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the original horrors, before even the beginning of the 80s, there was a lot of torture stuff in there. And nobody called that a torture porn. They just called it a horror
But
movie.
it wasn't, it was all off screen. That's what it is so effective about a good horror movie, is when people think it's gorier than they actually show.
Have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 by Toby
Yeah, and a
Hooper?
lot of it's off
Part
screen.
2, not in part 2. Part
It
2
was also being developed then, just like porn, you know, like it's that was its early stages of developing torture porn, you know, like
I hate that name. I really do.
There's also a porn called torture porn.
It's like almost like racism for horror movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
You offended Steven's people.
Stefan, damn it, Stefan! Ah!
Sorry, I'm gonna mispronounce everyone's name. I'm gonna pull a CMR and just kite. So, anyways,
I wanted to chime in and say I don't even need somebody to die in a horror movie to feel like it's a good horror movie. I just want to be scared. I want to be terrified and moved, you know, psychologically. And sometimes when someone doesn't die, that makes it even scarier, you know? So I don't need all the blood and the gore and the guts and the deaths. I need, like, you know.
So you hate the 80s genre of horror movies, then, because that's pretty much.
I grew up with it. I don't hate it all. And you know, something like Poltergeist was a little bit more, you know, elevated than slasher flicks and stuff.
Well, see, and that's one of those films that has a lot of controversy because Tobe Hooper wasn't given free reign to really do what he really wanted with it, because Spielberg was the major producer. And so, you know, if he had free reign of that movie would have been a little bit more than what it was. So I get what you're saying too. But you know, when I watch John Carpenter's The Thing with Kurt Russell, Keith David, that's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I love every moment of it, whether it's, you know, the drama, the tension building, and I love all the set pieces of the practical effects and the gore. I love it all.
That reminds me of like original the first Alien movie. It's a
Oh
movie
yeah,
about the tension
Ridley Scott. Yeah.
and the fear and the unknown.
Yeah.
So Heather, what's next? What are we doing next?
Now we're at the end here. I'm gonna give you guys, I got 3 selections. I could do a 4th if you guys really want to find something that's just on Netflix, but the 3 that I want to suggest are The Wailing, The Void, and Midsommar. That's my selection for you guys. If you guys can find and agree to watch one of those, you should do that.
I want to hear which ones the boys want to watch first, because I haven't seen any of those movies, and they all sound like something that I want to watch.
I know The Wailing is on Netflix.
I'm
Is
interested
it?
in
Yeah,
The
I believe
Wailing.
so.
I have seen Midsommar. I do also
don't think
recommend
so.
it, and I'd be happy to do that one.
It's either that or Amazon.
But I think what I'm interested in is watching The Wailing, because I've been hearing a lot about it.
So The Wailing is the one I really want you guys to watch, especially with everything Keith's been saying in this episode, because it is a horror movie, like in Keith's definition of the term. So I really want, compared to everything he said, like that's what makes it, like it's...
Where would you categorize it? Ghost, exorcism, slasher?
Oh yeah,
It's not a slasher. I would almost call it a ghost story, but even then, it's more of a possession story, right? Like an exorcism story. Yeah. But then there's also other elements to it. Like there's a crime procedural element to it.
Oh, okay.
There's other kinds of elements to it that, it's a weird Korean horror movie.
Oh, I love Asians, extreme Asian cinema. Oh yeah. You gotta see Dumplings eventually if you can get a chance to watch that. Dumplings.
Again, I feel like we're talking about regular porn at this point. Are you guys? No.
Dumplings. So Keith, you're voting on The Wailing?
That's my vote. Yeah.
I'm for either or. I love The Void. The Void is an 80s nostalgic throwback that pays homage to John Carpenter and David Cronenberg. So I definitely dig that one. But I know I've seen The Wailing, but it's been a long time, so I haven't seen it in.
I will say
forever.
I do like David Cronenberg.
Oh, one of the best.
That's a great kind of Lovecraftian 80s throwback. I like it because it's tense. Like that's what makes me. I picked all 3 of these because there's tension, there's a sense of dread that you have throughout the whole thing. And so that's what I went for. So they're not exactly matching genres perfectly.
Oh no, yeah, definitely different.
2 of them.
Yeah, definitely different.
I don't know. The Wailing sounds interesting, but so does The Void. Okay, question. Is The Wailing, does it have like a supernatural element to it? Is that what
Yes.
kind of understanding? Okay.
Yeah, they both do.
Ooh, they both do. Damn it! That was supposed to help me.
They're both definitely good. It just depends on
which one?
You want a foreign horror movie, or do you want to do more of like a American/Canadian type horror flick?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try. I think I'm gonna put my vote in for The Wailing.
There you go. Then we just do that one.
That's it.
Okay. I love it. I can't wait to talk about The Wailing, you guys.
You heard it here first, people. We're doing The Wailing next Friday.
Woo!
Where else would you hear it? I mean, that's stupid, right? Yeah.
Right?
I'll be eating some whale blubber. Oh yeah.
Catch us on our social media. The Sick Folks of Cinema is on. It's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We got a YouTube. I don't know how people found whatever they're listening to. If they found this, but YouTube. I'm trying to like just outro this shit.
We're indie, baby. We're indie.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere toys are sold.
Yes, and if they have any suggestions for any future episodes, let us know.
Toys.
Torture porn toys. Oh my lord! This is the ball whip.
Yeah, guys, comment. Let us know if you have any favorite movies that you want us to either touch on, review, watch, or recommend to other people.
Yay!
We did it!
We did it!
We're
That's
done.
another episode.
Do we stop the recording now?
Yeah, I'm
or-
going to stop the recording. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody.
Happy Friday the 13th.
See y'all next week.
Get.